Gender fluid males, their own worst enemy. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I was just thinking today about a few specific gender fluid identified males that I have encountered and how irritating each of them were as individuals. This is not to say that I haven't also known at least one guy who we could safely call gender fluid who was actually totally cool, but he was gender fluid, I believe, mainly because when he was a little kid, he grew up in a cult that would dress him up like a girl and have him sing on street corners to get money. True story. So he never really entirely adjusted to being a adult male. Regardless, even he followed the same pattern as the other gender fluid guys that I knew, which was that he would spend a few days or even weeks and months generally dressing as a female, but then he would eventually decide to go back to dressing like a dude when he wanted to actually get laid. This has been the pattern among every quote unquote gender fluid guy that I ever have known. They dressed like a female, seemingly not so much out of any radical expression of their inner self, but when it was convenient for them. And when they wanted to have sex with people who were attracted to men, they went back to being men again. It's beyond the notion of having your cake and eating it too, and delves a bit more into the territory of having your cake, eating it, giving it away to a hungry person, and then getting your cake back when you want it again. It discredits transgenderism and often the guy's integrity themselves because they just look inconsistent and weird. Sure, they'll say that sometimes they feel like expressing their masculine side or their feminine side, and sure, I can totally understand the urge to want to do such things if that's what you feel like doing for any reason. But let's be honest here. Does this urge to change gender presentation have to do with one's inner self, or does it have to do with how one finds themselves in relation to one's peers? I think that's the bigger, more overarching question, but the reason that I say gender fluid males are their own worst enemy has to do with the fact that the vast majority of them are also intersectional feminist gender ideologues, which is kind of really funny because their very existence actually kind of defeats one of their own arguments, one of the main ones, really. I mean, it's beautiful, really. Here you have a bunch of dudes who will gab on and on about the trials and tribulations of being a femme in a world dominated by patriarchy, the evils of toxic masculinity, and brag about their own willingness to give up alleged male privilege. And it's like, sure, we believe you. You obviously aren't being the least bit self-serving. That's where it gets funny to me. See, these guys would almost undoubtedly claim that there's such a thing as male privilege, which, of course, they probably couldn't try to quantify outside of potential street harassment and maybe the wage gap or something. However, then they'll go on to willingly give up this quote unquote male privilege and live while presenting as a woman simply because they think it's cool to do so for whatever reason. All the while, they'll eventually go back to having their supposed male privilege, and they'll do that, from my experience, unanimously when they want to get laid. Seriously, I've already said it, but I'll say it again. The pattern with these guys is that they dress as women until they get tired of the fact that gay guys don't want to have sex with them. So when they can't get laid as a dude that is dressing like a chick, they'll dress like a dude. I've never seen it go any other way, aside from the fact that I have come across a number of straight guys that are these same type of gender fluid trans trenders who we can safely assume tend to dress up as females because it helps them get laid among the intersectional crowd. Still, we can assume that when the girls who want to have sex with guys that are wearing dresses don't want to have sex with guys who are wearing dresses anymore, then the guys will stop wearing dresses, right? We can assume. Regardless, in the case of the gay guys who dress up as women for a while until they want to try to get laid, it begs a very obvious question. What exactly is male privilege to these people? Is there any rational way for one of these guys to possibly claim that male privilege exists when they willingly throw it away most of the time, but not even permanently? Isn't it fairly obvious that these guys are taking advantage of the plethora of female privileges on their off time between trying to have sex? I mean, if somebody has legitimate gender dysphoria and feels completely uncomfortable presenting as the gender that goes along with their biology, that's one thing. But these people tend to transition, and often they don't really care about whether or not there is male privilege or female privilege. They just know how they want to present. But when it comes to gender fluid people, despite what they will tell you about expressing their genuine self on different days or whatever, I think it's pretty obvious that they are almost unanimously just actively choosing the path of least resistance regarding how they can move around the world. I mean, honestly, I've known so many of the quote unquote gender fluid type guys that I've known are just really femme guys that can't get a date, so they figure they might as well just dress like a woman, and somehow that makes them more socially popular because gay guys dressed up as because honestly, gay guys really like women, and so when when a gay guy just dresses up as a woman, he can have more friends. It's just kind of what happens. Now, sure, there might be some instances in life where it's better to look like a dude, but obviously, if this person is going back and forth between the two, there has to be at least a few social benefits to presenting as a female, at least in many or most circumstances. Maybe, just maybe, when you dressed in an effeminate fashion, people end up liking you more in general in many or most social realities in the West. This is certainly true in a lot of places in leftist urban meccas like Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California, and New York City. If you're a gay guy, other gay guys will always generally pretty much like having sex with guys who look like guys. I mean, you're gay. Guys like guys if they're gay. So you should probably look like a guy. That's going to be a constant. But if they are just hanging out as friends, I've noticed that in recent years, it really does seem like effeminate gay guys tend to be treated a lot better than masculine gay guys socially. Like you can go to a gay bar, you can be super femme and make a lot of friends, but it's kind of hard to make friends as a masculine presenting gay guy. I can say this from personal experience as somebody who does actually look very masculine. And seemingly every masculine gay guy I know agrees that in the current year we get treated like crap socially by other gay guys, and certainly by the queer women that we come into contact with, despite the fact that the femme gay guys are very often attracted to us. That all said, I think you get my point. These people are basically just disproving their own gender ideological nonsense by actively showing the world that they are willing to take advantage of the circumstantial female privileges that they are afforded when they look female, but they're simultaneously willing to throw those privileges away when nature calls and they get horny. It's pathetic, but funny. That's all I have to say for this video.